This is Grace Spencer recording a video for ICS3500, Eastern Cultures and World Religions, Zoroastrianism, Take 8. Zoroastrianism is a religion founded by the Iranian prophet and religious reformer Zarathustra. He lived before the 6th century BC and is more widely known outside Iran as Zoroaster, the Greek form of his name. Zoroastrianism contains both monotheistic and dualistic features. It likely influenced other major Western religions, such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The ancient Greeks saw in Zoroastrianism the archetype of the dualistic views of the world and of human destiny. Zarathustra was supposed to have instructed Pythagoras in Babylon and to have inspired the Chaldean doctrines of astrology and magic. It is likely that Zoroastrianism influenced the development of Judaism and the birth of Christianity. The Christians, following a Jewish tradition, identified Zoroaster with Ezekiel, Nimrod, Seth, Balaam, Baruch, and other famous prophets. Some, in the Muslim tradition, also may identify him with Jesus Christ, though there is not as strong an influence in Islam as there is in Christianity. On the other hand, as the presumed founder of astrology and magic, Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, could be considered the arch-heretic. For example, his teachings led to the founding of certain heresies, such as Gnosticism and Arianism. He may also have had an influence on Manichaeism, which was founded by the Iranian prophet Mani, although this is not as clear. Though Zoroastrianism was never, even in the thinking of its founder, as insistently monotheistic as, for instance, Judaism or Islam, it does represent an original attempt at unifying under the worship of one supreme God, a polytheistic religion comparable to those of the ancient Greeks, Latins, Indians, and other early peoples. For example, the Greeks had a polytheistic religion over which Zeus was the nominal head. However, while Greeks might worship Zeus, they were just as likely to worship Artemis, Apollo, Hephaestus, or any of the many other gods present in the Greek pantheon. On the other hand, in Zoroastrianism, one might worship several Ahuras, or gods, but above all, one would worship Ahura Mazda, the greatest of the Ahuras. And even if one didn't worship any of the other Ahuras, one must worship Ahura Mazda in order to be counted as a believer. The other salient feature of Zoroastrianism was dualism and was never understood in an absolute, rigorous fashion. It is the most ritualistic and mystical part of Zoroastrian beliefs, and while it is pervading, the ways of interpreting it are far more variable. Good and evil fight an roughly equal battle, where the former is assured of triumph. Evil is good's counterpart, but is doomed to defeat. Thus, God's omnipotence is only temporarily limited. In this struggle, all human beings must enlist because of their capacity for free choice. They do so with soul and body, not against the body, for the opposition between good and evil is not the same as the one between spirit and matter. Contrary to the Christian or Manichaean attitude, fasting and celibacy are prescribed except as part of the purificatory ritual. The human struggle has a negative aspect, nonetheless, in that it must strive for purity and avoid defilement by the forces of death, contact with dead matter, and so on and so forth. Thus, Zoroastrian ethics, though they are in themselves rather lofty and rational, are regulated and pervaded by a strong ritualistic aspect that regulates general attitude in daily life. On the whole, Zoroastrianism is optimistic. It looks forward to the victory of good and the defeat of evil, and it has remained so, even through the hardship and oppression of its believers. Zoroastrians see the world as evil may seem to triumph, but it never will fully. And in the end, good is assured of victory. This gives them the strength to push on and continue, even through suffering and trial. The Avesta is the primary text of Zoroastrianism, and only the hymns, or gathas, are attributable to Zarathustra or Zoroaster. They are written in various meters and in a dialect different from the rest of the Avesta, except for 7 chapters, chiefly in prose, that appear to have been composed shortly after the prophet's demise. All these texts are embedded in the yasna, which is one of the main divisions of the Avesta, and is recited by the priests during the ceremony of the same name, meaning sacrifice. The Visprat, all the judges, is a yasna, augmented here and there by additional invocations and offerings to the ratus, or lords, of the different classes of beings. The Videvdat, or Vendidad, the law rejecting the devas, devils or demons who are in opposition to the Huras, consists of 2 introductory sections recounting how law was given to human beings, followed by 18 sections of rules. These laws lay out what the Zoroastrian ways of life is and how to properly be a good person. The Sarosa enumerates the deities presiding over the 30 days of the month. Zoroastrianism holds to a lunar calendar. The Vashts are other hymns, not written by Zoroaster, that are each addressed to one of 21 deities, such as Mithra, who would eventually become the Roman god of light, arrows, and a patron of soldiers, or other deities, such as Anahita or Verethragna. The Hadhokstanask, the section containing sayings, describes the fate of the soul after death. The Kurda Avesta, or Small Avesta, is made up of minor texts. The Avesta is, therefore, a collection of texts compiled in successive stages until it was completed under the Sasanians. It was then about 4 times larger than what has survived. A summary of its 21 books, or nasks, of which only one is preserved as such in the Videvdat, is given in one of the main treaties written during the brief Zoroastrian renaissance under Islam in the 9th century, the Denkart, the Acts of the Religion. Today, Zoroastrian is practiced all over the world. Despite this, it is a fairly small religion and one that is mostly unreached. It exists in 10 known countries. Its worldwide population is 161,700, and its main people cluster is Persian, with the largest population in one country being in India, 80,000. Its most reached area is in Canada with a population of 8,100, and even then, its status of being reached is still in the red, though not completely so. Zoroastrianism, it tends to exist in areas that already have a high population of other believers. They do not have their own language as such, though they may speak Parsi, which is what their population in India mainly speaks. Yet in all these circumstances, what they do have is the Bible translated in their tradition, especially in Myanmar, where Adoniram Judson put in a great deal of effort in writing and publishing the Bible for Christians to use. Christians in the United Kingdom, in the United States, and Canada also have an access to a variety of sources, such as the Jesus film, the vast majority of translation in the Bible. But what is desperately needed most is workers to reach out and connect with the Zoroastrians. Pray not just for the Zoroastrians to discover the Bible, but pray that workers might go to them, reach out, and seek to understand how Zoroastrians are both similar and different from Christians, so that we might better reach for them. Pray that missionaries who go to the Zoroastrians have a heart to care for this people. Thank you for listening to this video summary of the Zoroastrian religion.